Welcome to the Evidence-Based Marketer. In this episode, we are going to touch on the third pillar of digital marketing in our series, video marketing. I am Andrea Loyne, Digital Marketing Specialist here.
William Shuttle, Director of Experience Engagement here at Symmetry Partners, and we have a special guest today, Kevin Pallotti, who is our video guru. He does production, editing, basically all aspects of video for us, including the marketing of video. And he is going to share his thoughts on how you can incorporate video into your marketing efforts.
Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you very much for having me today.
So, Kevin, why should businesses consider using video as part of their marketing?
Because video is, at this point, a borderline inescapable component of communication with potential and your existing clientele or customers, depending on who's listening today. In fact, Business Insider back in 2020, they cited that roughly 244.4 million digital video viewers exist just in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
You are talking about a massive pool of potential consumers of the content or products you produce. So you don't want to miss out on that pool. And on top of that, YouTube actually has an existing user base of roughly 2 billion users. And that was as of 2017. So you can reasonably assume that that number has since compounded or grown by some measure. And it is, in fact, the second most popular search engine just behind Google, which is, of course, the parent company that owns it.
And for social media, video is, the second most popular content type, for engaging your audience on social media. So it would, being that it's number 2 search engine and number 2 most engaging, it seems important.
But the challenge, right, is you've got all these viewers watching all these videos. How do you stand out?
You stand out by differentiating your content, by making yourself stand out amongst the crowd, and chiefly staying on brand. What you really want to do is put forward a message and a style to your video content that really stands heads and shoulders above the crowd. And of course, that's going to differ depending on the nature of your business and who you are. Really, you just want to make sure that you're producing content that's sharp and interesting for whoever is consuming it.
And in our industry in financial services, video marketing can really help you to build trust and educate your clients, right? So one of the things that as a financial advisor you want your clients to do is, trust you, that you're going to be handling a big part of who they are. And that's really any service industry. You want the trust, but it helps to build the trust with your potential clients, your current clients, and to educate them on all that you do.
And people are certainly hungry for information about financial services, financial solutions. There are a number of video bloggers and folks making regular videos on YouTube who have huge amounts of viewership. And, they might do something as simple as what's an ETF like, or how does an ETF differ from a mutual fund? And get hundreds of thousands of views. Now, of course, I'm completely jealous of them since they don't seem to have particularly compelling, original, or interesting content, and yet obviously they have done something right.
They have a following, and simple things like onboarding videos. If you have a tough process when it comes to starting your service, financial services, onboarding a new client. Onboarding with a video can be way better than, a series of 10 emails that explain to me how to do this, when I can just send a video that's 2.5 minutes long, shows you how to do it, and walks you through the process. People tend to grasp more to those content.
And what's interesting also is I've seen this with a lot of businesses is people show do-it-yourself videos. You might have from like a plumber, a do-it-yourself, how to repair various plumbing things. And what happens, of course, is people watch these videos and they're useful, but they probably get stymied at some point or decide, heck, that looks hard. I'm going to go hire this plumber who obviously knows what he or she is doing.
Makes a difference. We work with a divorce mediator firm where it's tough to even know where to get started. And so she's filmed some videos where she just kind of gives them an introduction of where to get started. How do you start down the financial planning path with divorce? How do you do the divorce mediation path? And then it just makes you want more, makes you pick up the phone and call and say, I really think she understands exactly where I need to go. I'm going to call them and check them out.
Now, Kevin, there's a perception that creating video is complicated, it's expensive, it's difficult to do. But you believe that's not necessarily the case.
No, especially not now. At this point in time, were in June of 2022, and the use of certain online video services like Zoom. Zoom is the first one to jump to mind. That has its own recording feature. So if you wanted to share a video of you just directly speaking to camera about a certain issue your customers are facing, or you were presenting some kind of report on an internal level, like with fellow employees or with staff that's under you, you can really easily do that by using Zoom's screen share function and record function. And it's a pretty low fuss type of method of creating video content. In addition to that, PowerPoint offers a similar kind of functionality where you can present slide content and speak to it on camera. And of course, there's different online services that also allow you to make custom videos. I wanted to cite while I was here today for people who are looking for a pretty quick and practical solution. Loom is an online resource you can use to create custom videos.
Lume?
Loom.
Okay.
There is also Veed.io, which is a service I use for actually creating audiograms, which are fun little videos that we use to help promote this very podcast, believe it or not.
We'll post all these links in the description.
Absolutely. And of course, I also want to point out Wevideo, which is an online resource for creating simple video content that I found. I was curious prior to today's podcast, is there an online vendor that's popular, fairly ubiquitous, and easy to use? And Wevideo seems to check off all those boxes, so I recommend that you go check that out for yourself if you're looking to do something a little bit more customizable.
But in all honesty, I mean, with an iPhone and a ring light, you could be in business.
Yes, the how-to part. So from a technical aspect, I think a lot of people get hung up on the complicated, like, how does this happen? But really, any kind of mobile device, especially at this point in our history, has a camera, has a built-in microphone, and is remarkably low maintenance. If you want to kick it up a couple notches, you can play with a USB microphone, which involves, wait for it, plugging a microphone into your computer. Convolution over. So, if that's even a word. So, I actually would recommend specifically the Blue Yeti USB microphone, which is something I've used for several years. Also, different brands offer their own version of that, but there are any other number of options.
And they're typically not particularly expensive. Ring lights aren't expensive.
No. And on top of ring lights, there are also small LED lights that you can clip directly to the top of your video monitor.
Yeah, I've seen that with the laptops.
Computer monitor,
a lot of the people that in our industry are doing a lot of video calls. And there's someone who used to work here who went out on his own, does his own consulting business. So I follow him. And all of a sudden, his videos are looking on point when he puts them on LinkedIn, when he puts them out in the world. And I emailed him and I said, what's going on? He goes, I got a light clipped to my monitor. It makes me look great. I can, depending on the time of day, I can move it around so that there's no bad shadows. And he made it sound very simple. I think I need to get one for my laptop, actually.
So you've created these videos, and now the big challenge is how do you share them, and how do you share them successfully? So there are a lot of places you can post them, but I think part of the real challenge is getting attention for them.
Very good. With this one, it really comes down to the why. Why are you creating video content? If your goal, and I'm assuming this is most of the people who are listening, if your goal is to distribute content to a broad customer base or client base quickly at low cost, YouTube is quite obviously the best hosting choice. Its use of tags, its use of descriptions and titles make it readily searchable. As you might recall from the beginning of this podcast, I cited that it has about 2 billion users. So if you're looking to reach the largest pool at the lowest cost, that's your choice. As long as you don't enable your channel for like ad revenue, which is an extra process that most people skip by default. There will be no commercials or any kind of additional messaging on your content. It'll just be readily accessible once you share the link. And of course, it comes with lots of practical tools that allow you to very quickly share it on your social media channels. It'll give you a short link that you can send in an email. It's a very user-friendly tool, I find it to be.
And it allows you to embed videos onto your website, not have to host them directly on your website. So if you are putting video content on your website, which, caveat, I highly recommend, you should certainly be embedding a video or using the YouTube link to get to the video so that you're not hosting it on your website and slowing it down. You're hosting it at YouTube. Let it slow down, the outside world, and you're pushing people to your YouTube channel to show them the additional content that you have.
And it's free.
And it's free.
I would also point out, and this is a little bit deep dive. I don't know how many tech nerds are out there right now listening, but if you want to make use of things like cards or end screens on YouTube, which are just two free functions that it offers, you can refer your clients or customers to other content you've made while they're watching the video. Looks like a small little pop-up, and if they're interested, they'll give it a click and be referred elsewhere. It's a very simple way to help keep your clients engaged with everything you've made up to that point.
Now, how do you take eyeballs and turn them into phone calls? And so how do you have this, you've created this great video, how do you leverage it and actually turn that into action, right? Because it's great people watching your video, but ultimately you want them to do something with it, and that something is usually get in contact with you.
Let us begin with the practical. So in terms of your YouTube content, if you include a direct link to your contact page or website in the description section of your video, you give your viewer quick and immediate access to your website, your contact page, where they can potentially fill out a form and let you know that they're interested. If, for those of you who are, I should say, in the business to business type model, I would say that making use of services like Wevideo and Bright Cove and Vimeo, you can include links to your website again, and actually include a pop-up screen that mandates that the viewer put in their contact information. So to engage with your content, they need to first supply who they are and give you their email address. And I also want to point out that using these videos and emails is another good way to get a sense of who's engaging with your content and collect some data on who you want to follow up with. In a study conducted by Vidyard, over 70% of sales professionals reported that custom-recorded videos perform better at producing opens, clicks, and responses than text-based emails. So inserting video into your email actually increases the chance that you may come upon a qualified lead, someone who is very clearly interested in the product or service that you're currently offering.
And with the videos and email, the pandemic kind of opened up this whole new world, right? We weren't able to meet face to face with clients in a service industry. It forced people to be creative. And, I know I got an email, I think you've actually gotten one too, where we're working with someone that we might be, wanting of their service. And instead of them responding with this really long book of an email back to us, they simply took one of those tools like Wistia, recorded their video, and sent it. It was 2 minutes of them, and it was, hi, Andrea. And they went into the video, very personal. Maybe it's almost like they picked up the phone to get me, but I got it on my own terms. Even little things like that can go a long way with clients and prospects.
And I think it's important to use video creatively in these kind of ways. And there's some interesting research that using video when a prospect is near making a decision can be really, really important, because it just provides that little extra bit of education, some examples maybe of your work, or certainly an opportunity to showcase your personality, and just remind them again of why they should consider working with you and availing themselves of your services.
Well, and HubSpot did some research on video because they use it quite often in their whole process. And they found that consumers and customers prefer lower quality, more authentic type video over high quality video that seems inauthentic, something that it's artificial. They're speaking to a mass, and they're not really making it seem personal. It doesn't have to be personal. We work with a financial advisor out of California now where, she gets 5 questions on, similar questions about what's happening in the market, she will simply turn on her cell phone camera, talk to the camera about that question, the answer, and why it's happening, and post it to her Instagram. And so that's not, she didn't make that and put it in and wait for this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was authentically her standing there telling the answer to the question that she continuously gets. That makes a difference to her clients.
Right. And it seems timely and relevant because, in fact, it's not overly produced.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Kevin, there are several types of videos that you recommend that folks consider. So there's not just one or two out there. That there are certain macro categories that you found make sense for businesses to consider.
I do indeed have such categories in mind. So, in the case of a business-to-business type setup, or if you're dealing with a clientele and you're running a service-based company, you can certainly consider webinars. As I mentioned earlier, Zoom, a great tool for creating those. If you're creating something more akin to a product, something tangible that people are looking to purchase and put into their own hands, you can do explainer videos that kind of detail what your product offers and what it does, and give you a chance to kind of photograph it and really put it on display for your customer base or potential customer base.
I go to YouTube anytime I'm going to buy something that I need to use. I recently purchased my husband one of those flat top grills, and I went and probably watched a dozen videos on the different ones that are out there, how other people were using them, but also, how to put them together, how hard was it to put them together, things like that. So I certainly did my research via video.
Absolutely. And of course, there's also explainer videos can also be excellent for those companies that have a more educational kind of approach to their content. So if there's a difficult concept that you need to explain to your client base, using an explainer video can help literally illustrate it to whoever the viewer is in a way that's more succinct and visual than something like a white paper or an article.
Yeah, and you could go have one correspond with it as well. And it's there's lots of ways that you can use video to educate your clients, but it doesn't all have to be like in the moment either. There is a way to create content that can be used at any time, right? And that way you're not consistently having to produce brand new videos every day, but you have some content that you can throw out there that really can go out at any time. So right now, the market's up and down. So we might want to do a video on that, but we might have a video in the hopper about our factor investing and how it works and the importance of it. And there you go. That's a great video to put out. That's good at any time of the year.
You are referring to evergreen content.
Evergreen.
Yes, indeed. Subjects that aren't necessarily timely or in lockstep with recent news articles or goings on, but that you can reuse over and over for months or years at a time if need be.
Mm-hmm.
What other kinds of videos are there?
So you also have FAQ videos. If you have a client base or customer base that consistently asks similar questions over time, you want to make sure to create something that addresses them. So, for example, if you get a consistent question, like in our case, about, again, the factor-based approach and what exactly that means, having an FAQ section on your site and embedding a video that answers said question is a really easy way to respond without having to email your customer directly. Instead, just refer them to the link, allow them to take the time on their own to look into it and get their questions answered.
I think the last thing we should probably focus in on is metrics. How do you actually get good metrics? How do you measure success? And what do you do with those numbers?
In the case of YouTube, and I want to focus on this because this is the most popular hosting site, you want to stay focused on things like, and believe it or not, views actually, I would consider those last. And I want to actually backtrack for a second. So not everyone is going to be a massive viral sensation. Someone like PewDiePie or Logan Paul, two YouTubers that have massive
and are widely hated, but
yeah, that was a good call, picking two people that are massively controversial.
yeah,
which probably contributes to their view count. Let's keep it real. But not everyone needs to aim at everyone. You really want to focus on things like click-through rate, which refers to how often someone sees your video and elects to view it. Total watch time, which refers to for how long someone stays on the video they've chosen to watch. Average view duration. On average, how often does someone watch your video and stay through most of it or some of it? Your subscriber count. Just how large of a viewer base are you developing? And of course, demographic information, which can give you a sense of the characteristics of your audience. So male, female, age group, where they're coming from in the world or in the country. And of course, you want to keep track if you're consistently emailing out video content. If you choose to go that far, you want to keep track of how many people are actually choosing to click it and how many people are interested in checking out that kind of content in your emails. Although I think it's a pretty safe bet that if you consistently include emails and videos in your emails, they're going to draw some additional viewers to it.
And help your click-through rate in your emails as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So whenever I'm on a video on YouTube and they have, a channel, and definitely want to set up your YouTube channel if you have multiple videos that people want to watch. At the end of the video, there's always some weird, cool animation of subscribe here, or in the middle of the video. My kids are YouTube-aholics, right? There's always the click below to subscribe to our channel, or the, tell your parents to click below and subscribe. Do you recommend that service industries do stuff like that? Not making it fun and cute, but to actually draw subscribers in the beginning, in the end of their videos, to say, click to subscribe. I watch WordPress tutorials that in the beginning say, before we get started, just wanted to remind you to click below to subscribe to our channel. Do you recommend them doing that? Do you think it would help drive subscribers to their channel?
I absolutely do. And that is actually the end screen functionality that I mentioned a little bit earlier. If you include an end screen at the end of a YouTube video, it's a way to just give your viewers a readily visible way to subscribe to your channel, smash that like button, as the kids say, and increase the chances that your video will be viewed in the future, which is something that the like button actually does. If you encourage viewers who check out your content to like it, you increase the chances that your content will be more readily searchable on Google and the YouTube search bar.
Yeah. And of course, if you're trying to monetize your content on YouTube, subscribers are
That's how
an
you do
important
it.
part of
Yep.
that.
Yes, if you choose to set out on that endeavor, which won't apply to all of our listeners, but for those who do, yes, indeed, that is essential.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for your insights. And obviously, video is a huge, for many business, frankly, new world that they have yet to fully explore. And yet I think that the data is so compelling, the results for many businesses so compelling, that it's something that all marketers should be considering, no matter what business you're in.
It's very true. It can be a video bio. It can be a video on your website, just something that shows who you are.
And what you do and how you do it. That wraps up this episode of The Evidence-Based Marketer. If you want more information, please go to theevidencebasedmarketer.com, where we also have past episodes. We'll publish some of the links that Kevin talked about there and under the description. And until next time, keep marketing.
Symmetry Partners, LLC is an investment advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The firm only transacts business in states where it is properly registered, excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration of an investment advisor does not imply any specific level of skill or training and does not constitute an endorsement of the firm by the Commission. No one should assume that future performance of any specific investment strategy, product, or non-investment related content made reference to directly or indirectly in this material will be profitable. As with any investment strategy, there is the possibility of profitability as well as loss. Due to various factors, including changing market conditions and/or applicable law, the content may not be reflective of current opinions or positions. Please note the material is provided for educational and background use only. Moreover, you should not assume that any discussion or information contained in this material serves as the receipt of or as a substitute for personalized investment advice. Please note that nothing either stated or implied on this podcast is intended to be compliance or legal advice regarding your marketing program.